The sun had just begun to rise over Willow Creek Estates, casting a soft golden glow on the calm surface of Crystal Lake. For 15 years, this peaceful neighborhood had been my sanctuary, the perfect blend of quiet suburban life and natural beauty. But that morning, as I stood on my porch sipping coffee, I had no idea that everything was about to change. I'm David Morgan, a man who never imagined his greatest fight would be over something as simple as swimming in his own lake. The lake was a hard community stretching 20 acres, half resting on my property and the other half shared with the HOA. For years, neighbors would nod hello as I dove into the cool water on early summer mornings, free and unbothered. It was my ritual, my escape. That peace shattered the day Karen Blake moved in as HOA president. Chapter 2. The Tyrant Arrives. Karen was the kind of woman who thrived on control. Sharp-eyed and sharper-tongued, she wore her power like armor. From her first day, she treated the neighborhood as her personal kingdom to command. It started small, an email about improper mailbox heights, a letter warning about unapproved flower beds. But soon, Karen's rules multiplied faster than anyone could keep track. She carried a ruler in her purse and measured lawns herself. Every infraction was met with fine, no matter how trivial. Most residents kept their heads down. But I wasn't about to surrender my lake, my home. Chapter 3. The First Confrontation. One blistering June morning, I was swimming laps in Crystal Lake when I heard the sharp voice calling from the shore. David Morgan, you are trespassing and violating HOA rules. Karen's voice cut through the air like a siren. I floated the edge, dripping water onto the dock. She stood there in a crisp blazer despite the heat, clipboard in hand. Swimming is forbidden in all community water bodies without prior approval, she declared, pointing to the fine print she loved so much. This is my property, I said, voice steady but firm. Check the deed records. Karen's lips curled into a smirk. Not according to HOA governance. That was the moment I knew the fight was on. Chapter 4. The Warning Letter. A week after our confrontation at the lake, I found a crisp envelope slipped under my front door. The HOA's official letterhead stared back at me, cold and precise. Dear Mr. Morgan, it began, it has come to the board's attention that you have violated HOA Regulation 7.3.9 by engaging in unauthorized recreational activities in community water bodies. You are hereby fined $1,000. Failure to remit payment within 30 days will result in further action. I slammed the letter down on the kitchen table, anger bubbling beneath my calm exterior. They had no right. This was my land, my lake. That afternoon, I called a lawyer, someone experienced in property law and HOA disputes. I needed to understand my rights before this spiraled out of control. Chapter 5. The Neighborhood Divided. News of my fine spread like wildfire through Willow Creek Estates. Some neighbors whispered in hushed tones. Others openly sided with Karen, praising her commitment to order. I found myself isolated at community meetings, the board cold and unyielding. Karen's influence was strong. She carefully cultivated allies, convinced them I was a troublemaker undermining community values. But a few brave souls reached out privately. Old friends, fellow homeowners who felt the same frustration but feared crossing the HOA queen. One evening, at a dimly lit cafe, Margaret, a retired schoolteacher and longtime resident, confided, David, you're not alone. Karen's rules are suffocating everyone, but no one's dared to fight. Her words fueled my resolve. I wasn't just defending my right to swim. I was standing up for all of us. Chapter 6. The legal battle begins. With my lawyer's help, I prepared a formal response to the HOA. We challenged the fine's legality, citing property deeds, local ordinances, and HOA bylaws that were either misapplied or outright ignored. The board dismissed our letter without consideration, escalating the matter to their legal team. What started as a personal battle became a drawn-out war of letters, court filings, and threatening notices. Karen doubled down, using every tactic to wear me down, delaying responses, calling surprise board meetings, and attempting to sway neighbors with half-truths and intimidation. But I was ready. Chapter 7. The Community Meeting Showdown. The night of the monthly HOA meeting arrived, and the small community hall was packed. Faces I once called neighbors now wore cautious, wary expressions. Karen sat at the head of the table, her posture regal, her eyes gleaming with the thrill of battle. I stepped to the podium, feeling the weight of dozens of stares. Good evening. I'm here not just for myself, but for every homeowner who values fairness and respect. This fight isn't about fees or rules. It's about rights, about standing up when power is abused. Karen's lips tightened. David, this community thrives on order. Your actions threaten that balance. We're here to enforce our bylaws. Murmurs filled the room, some nodding, others restless. Then let's have transparency, I challenged. Let's review the bylaws openly, discuss this with the entire community, and find a fair solution, not threats and fines behind closed doors. For a moment, silence. Then Karen slammed her gavel. Meeting adjourned. But something had shifted. Chapter 8, The Unexpected Ally. The next day, an email arrived from a surprising source, Mark, a board member previously silent during meetings. I've reviewed your claims, David, he wrote. Karen's interpretation of the rules is flawed, and the board's actions may expose us to legal risks. I want to help. His support was a lifeline. Together, we started gathering evidence, testimonies, and preparing for what will become a full legal challenge against the HOA's heavy-handed tactics. Chapter 9, The Battle Intensifies. As word spread of the mounting legal fight, tension escalated in the neighborhood. Anonymous notes appeared on doors, warning me to drop the matter. My lawn was vandalized one night, tires slashed. Karen's campaign of control had turned personal and hostile, but with Mark and a few others quietly backing me. I pushed forward, determined to reclaim not only my right to swim, but the community's trust and fairness. Chapter 10, The Courtroom Battle. The morning of the hearing arrived cold and gray. I stood outside the courthouse, heart pounding but mind steady. Opposite me, Karen's confident entourage gathered, their smug smiles a silent challenge. Inside the courtroom, the air was thick with anticipation. My lawyer laid out our case. The property deed clearly granted me rights to the lake, and the HOA bylaws didn't legally support Karen's fines or bans on swimming. Karen's attorney fired back, painting me as a rule breaker threatening community safety, citing vague liability concerns and HOA governance. For hours, testimonies were heard, evidence debated, and tensions ran high. When it was over, the judge reserved judgment, leaving the entire neighborhood holding its breath. Chapter 11, Aftermath and Reflection. Walking back to my car, I felt exhausted but determined. This fight wasn't just legal, it was personal, a battle for respect and dignity. Neighbors approached quietly, some offering support, others avoiding eye contact. The community was fractured, and healing would take time. But for the first time in months, I felt hope. Karen's reign wasn't absolute. Change was possible. Chapter 12, The Verdict. Weeks later, the courtroom was packed again. The judge entered, his expression grave but fair. He cleared his throat. After careful consideration of the evidence and legal arguments, the court finds in favor of Mr. David Morgan. The fines imposed by the HOA for swimming in Crystal Lake are hereby nullified. Furthermore, the HOA is instructed to revise their regulations in accordance with property laws and community fairness. A murmur rippled through the room. Karen's face tightened, but she said nothing. I felt a surge of relief and vindication. This was more than a personal victory. It was a statement that tyranny has limits. Chapter 13, Healing the Neighborhood. Back in Willow Creek Estates, the atmosphere slowly began to thaw. Karen resigned from her position amid mounting pressure, and a new, more collaborative board was elected. Community meetings became open forums for discussion rather than battlegrounds. Neighbors who once kept their distance approached me with smiles and apologies. Some even joked about organizing a lake day, open to all, no restrictions. Standing on my dock one evening, watching the sunset reflect on the water, I realized this fight had changed me. I'd learned that standing up for what's right isn't easy, but it's necessary. And sometimes, swimming in your own lake is about more than just water. Epilogue. ripples beyond the lake. Months later, Willow Creek Estates felt like a different place. The lake, once a source of conflict, had become a symbol of community resilience. I received calls from neighboring HOA communities facing similar struggles, asking how we had stood up and won. I shared our story, hoping to inspire others to challenge unjust authority. Karen Blake faded into the background, a cautionary tale about what happens when power is wielded without fairness. As for me, every swim now felt like a victory, a reminder that sometimes the quietest ripples can create the biggest waves. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, I smiled, knowing that I reclaimed not just my lake, but a piece of justice for everyone. As the days turned into months, Willow Creek Estates slowly healed from its divisions. The lake no longer symbolized conflict but unity, a place where neighbors gathered without fear or resentment. I often think back to that fight, to the battles both in and out of courtroom. It taught me that standing up for what is right requires courage, patience, and faith in justice. And sometimes the simplest act, swimming in your own lake, can become a powerful stand against tyranny. With the water calm and the sun setting over Crystal Lake, I finally felt peace. This was more than a victory. It was a new beginning.